Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajanaranjana Yashodanandana Prajanaranjana Yashodanandana Prajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Mishpat Paramahams Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Srimad Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai Ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Shri Bhagavad Gita Ki Shri Gita Jayanti Mahotsav Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21, text number 31. Canto 4, Chapter 21, text number 31. Yatpada seva biruchis tapasvinam. Yatpada seva biruchis tapasvinam. Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya. Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya. Sadyakshinot anvaham edati sati. Sadyakshinoti anvaham edati sati. Yata padhangushta vinishrita sarit. Yatha padhangushta vinishrita sarit. Yat pada seva biruchis taposvinam. Yat pada seva biruchis tapasvinam. Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diyaha. Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diyaha. Sadyakshino tanvaham edati sati. Sadyakshino tyanvaham edati sati. Yata padhangushta vinishrita sarit. Yatha padhangushta vinishrita sarit. Yat pada, whose lotus feet, seva, service, abhiruchihi, inclination, tapasvinam, persons undergoing severe penances, ashesha, innumerable, janma, birth, upachitam, acquire, malam, dirtiness, diyaha, mind, sadhyaha, immediately, shinoti, destroys, anvaham, day after day, edati, increasing, sati, being, yatha, as, pada angushta, the toes of his lotus feet, vinishrita, emanating from sarit, water. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. By the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births. Like the Ganges water which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, such a process immediately cleanses the mind, and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. Purport. In India, one can actually see that a person who takes bath in the Ganges water daily is almost free from all kinds of diseases. A very respectable Brahmana in Calcutta never took a doctor's medicine, even though he sometimes fell sick. He would not accept medicine from the physician, but he would simply drink Ganges water. And he was always cured within a very short time. Haribol. The glories of the Ganges water are known to Indians and to ourselves also. The river Ganges flows by Calcutta. Sometimes within the water there are many stools and other dirty things which are washed away from the neighboring mills and factories. But still thousands of men take bath in the Ganges water, and they are very healthy as well as spiritually inclined. That is the effect of Ganges water. The Ganges is glorified because it emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, if one takes to the service of the lotus feet of the Lord or takes to Krishna consciousness, he is immediately cleansed of many dirty things which have accumulated in his innumerable births. We have seen that in spite of the very black record of their past lives, persons who take to Krishna consciousness become perfectly cleansed of all dirty things and make spiritual progress very swiftly. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj advises that without the benediction of the Supreme Lord, one cannot make advancement, either in so-called morality, economic development, or sense gratification. One should therefore take to the service of the Lord or Krishna consciousness and thus very soon become a perfect man, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat chantim nigacchati. Being a responsible king, Prithu Maharaj recommends that everyone takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus be immediately purified. Lord Sri Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, simply by surrendering unto him, one is immediately relieved of all sinful reactions. As Krishna takes away all the sinful reactions of a person immediately upon his surrender unto him, similarly the external manifestation of Krishna, the representative of Krishna, who acts as the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, takes all the resultant actions of the sinful life of the disciple immediately after the disciple's initiation. Thus, if the disciple follows the principles instructed by the spiritual master, he remains purified and is not contaminated by material infection. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore stated that the spiritual master who plays the part of Krishna's representative has to consume all sinful reactions of his disciple. Sometimes a spiritual master takes the risk of being overwhelmed by the sinful reactions of his disciples and undergoes a sort of tribulation due to their acceptance. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised that one not accept many disciples. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Everybody kindly repeat. By the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births, like the Ganges water which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a process immediately cleanses the mind and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So what to speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself? Even the water that has washed the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sufficient to cleanse the whole of humanity. So even water, dust, anything which is associated in a mood of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very, very empowered. Even the dust from the lotus feet of which has touched the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, the water, even the remnants of food offered to the Lord, anything that is offered lovingly to the Lord becomes empowered. That is and such of those places where the Lord has displayed His transcendental loving exchanges between Him and His devotees, also known as Tirtha Kshetras, that is holy places, actually become holy. Those places become holy. And of course, it is also said that that person who is constantly, lovingly, selflessly engaged in the service of the Lord also becomes very powerful, very empowered. Even the person who is serving the Lord, becomes very empowered. So it is said that there is no need actually to go to these holy places. Simply go to the place where holy people are staying, where devotees are staying, devotees who are enthusiastically, selflessly, and in an unmotivated manner, following the instructions of the Guru Parampara, are engaged in the service of Krishna. Even being with them, hearing them, serving them is as good as visiting holy places. So everything about Krishna is very divine, is very purifying. In fact, it is said that even remembrance of Krishna can purify the mind, heart of the living entity. Remembrance of Krishna, remembrance of the pastimes of Krishna is very, very purifying. That is the mercy of Krishna to all the living entities, in the sense that one becomes... So what does actually one mean when we say one becomes purified? So when we say that one becomes purified, it also means one is free from contamination. And of course, the biggest contamination in this material world is the tendency to think oneself as the enjoyer. Tendency to think that I am the enjoyer. I'm the enjoyer, I have to enjoy, everybody has to serve me or engage in my service, something like that. I am the enjoyer, rather than accepting gracefully the position that I am the servant of Guru and Krishna. So we have a great reluctance in it. So that is the biggest contamination we have. Unwillingness to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality and that we are His servants. Unwillingness to accept. Actually, because of this one single misconception that we have, and strong faith in that misconception, we have very unshakable faith. Just as we devotees speak about having unshakable faith in Krishna, words of the Shastra, words of Guru, we have unshakable faith in this understanding, misconception, that I am the enjoyer. So much so that we never give up that mentality. Even though all our attempts to become the enjoyer are frustrated by Krishna, by Maya, etc. But we still won't give up, we'll still try. Something or other, we'll try something a little different next time, etc. But we don't give up. The tendency to become the enjoyer is very, very deep-rooted. Even when one enters the spiritual practices, even there, this tendency to be the enjoyer surfaces, and sometimes surfaces in a very dangerous manner. Sometimes it surfaces as if, ultimately, enjoyer means wanting to control other living entities also. So, sometimes when we take to spiritual life and this tendency to enjoy has not been sufficiently reduced, so we tend to enjoy in our spiritual practices also by trying to dominate over other living entities, something. So contamination comes out even in spiritual practices, and that can be quite dangerous and detrimental. But the fact of the matter is, enjoying tendency is extremely strong, extremely deep-rooted, extremely deceptive. No, I'm just guiding him, I'm correcting him, that is my duty. But deep down inside, it is a tendency of wanting to dominate, control, manipulate, and then be the enjoyer, be the master, enjoyer, master. So, but it is said that Krishna consciousness is so powerful that slowly but steadily the contamination that I want to be the enjoyer will slowly be reduced. It will be slowly reduced. Because constitutionally we are not enjoyer. Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das. We are servants. In fact, it is mentioned that this is the original sin committed by all living entities because of their strong inclination to become, wanting to become the enjoyer, like Krishna. Like Krishna. So they come into the material world where they try, where they experiment, where they try to become the enjoyer. But no, we cannot be the enjoyer. We are constitutionally servant only. We cannot. So we mimic. Mimic means we imitate the role that Krishna plays by being controller, by expanding our influence and different things we do by becoming a business. Whatever we do is in a contaminated state is directed towards increasing our inclination to become the enjoyer or try to become the enjoyer. Very difficult for us to give up because we also have great faith in ourselves, our intelligence, our personally every one of us thinks that I am a big hero, just that people don't seem to have recognized right now. Very soon they will recognize. I'm big, I'm great, I'm capable, or whatever, some illusion like that we all have. Very soon they will recognize what is my real capacity, or something like that. Or they'll be waiting. The next incident that happens, then they will realize, or something like that. So we live, we are bound by our own determination to be an enjoyer, like that. But then, here it is said that the water of the Ganges purifies us from all types of contamination, including the contamination of wanting to be the enjoyer, the master, the controller. It is said like that. So, here it is mentioned that Prithu Maharaj is glorifying Krishna. He is a king, he was a king of the whole world. But he is taking such a naturally humble position. Prithu Maharaj is saying, so what if I am the king? Krishna is the Lord of millions of universes like this. I mean, I'm just one small earthly planet. There are billions, like innumerable billions like this that Krishna can create. And he is the Lord of all of those. What am I in comparison to Krishna? So, he takes a very humble position, glorifies Krishna, and says, if I am today the king, it is because of the mercy, it's because of the grace of my Lord, the blessings of Krishna, that he has entrusted me, given me the responsibility to rule this kingdom for some time on his behalf. I should never forget that I am the ruler on his behalf. And that even in the act of ruling this kingdom, I should see how I please my Lord, Krishna. How even in the act of serving, even in the act of ruling, I serve Krishna. While I am ruling, actually I am doing it as a service to Krishna, genuinely. I mean, it's not some lip service or... No, it is very genuine. Prithu Maharaj is thinking that they are also children of Krishna. Just as I am son of Krishna, they are also children. So in a spiritual sense, we are all equal. In a spiritual sense, we are all equal. We are all children of Krishna. Aham bija prajapitaha. So we are all children of Krishna. So they are as much dear to Krishna as I am. How dare I even attempt to manipulate or control them? They have only one controller. That controller is my controller also, Krishna. But given that in the material situation, there has to be somebody who leads them. And what is the purpose of the leader? Prithu Maharaj is clarifying in this chapter and the chapter previous to this. Prithu Maharaj is clarifying. He's saying the purpose of the leader is to lead everybody to Krishna. Is to lead everybody to Krishna. Take everybody to Krishna. Give them unhindered opportunity to render loving service to Krishna. That is a job, that is a primary responsibility of a leader. Encourage them, support them, take them along and inspire them to serve Krishna, but not manipulate them, control them, or enjoy. So Prithu Maharaj understands this. So Prithu Maharaj says, that my father, Vena, was quite opposite to this. Prithu Maharaj actually speaking condemns his father. He condemns his father and says he was a demon because he had this contamination that he is the enjoyer. And everybody should serve him and not Krishna. So Prithu Maharaj says he was a curse to mankind. He exploited, he manipulated, he extracted service. In other words, he tried to play the role of Krishna in this material, imitate Krishna's role. Whereas Prithu Maharaj says that no need to imitate Krishna's. Why? Krishna is already there. What is the need for us to imitate? Krishna is there, and by his inconceivable potency, Krishna can be present everywhere. Our duty is to just recognize that Krishna is present everywhere. Krishna is present in every planet. Krishna can incarnate in every planet simultaneously. Krishna can accept worship of millions of devotees, billions of devotees, wherever they are in this whole creation, simultaneously, at the same time, and reciprocate to each one of them individually and lovingly, and in a very unique manner. Krishna can reciprocate to every devotee individually, uniquely, in a very unique manner, according to their bhava, according to their mood. So what's the need to just take them to Krishna. Nobody can be as loving and as perfect a master as Krishna. So Prithu Maharaj is saying that, look at Mother Ganga. She can purify. Purify. So sometimes it is the sinful reactions of our previous lives which hinder us, which confuse us, which come in the way of devotional service. So when we take bath in the Ganges, Ganga river, the sinful reactions go away. And why does Ganga take away the sinful reactions? Or how is Ganga capable of taking away sinful reactions? Ganga, Mother Ganga, is capable of taking away sinful reactions because she has touched the lotus feet of Krishna. Or shall we say she has washed the lotus feet of Krishna. That is why Ganga is very empowered. And hence removes all contamination. See, this is the glory of a devotee. Wherever he looks, wherever he turns, devotee sees something that he can immediately connect to Krishna or Krishna's mercy. He can connect to Krishna. He looks at all the people in his kingdom and he says, they're all children of Krishna. They also should actually be serving Krishna. Nothing and nobody should come in the way of their service to Krishna. How nice it will be if I can serve them, engage them, inspire them, protect them so that they can serve Krishna unhindered. My duty as the leader, as the king, is to protect them so that in an unhindered fashion, uninterrupted fashion, they can be engaged in serving Krishna. Whatever they do, wherever they see something that can be connected with Krishna and Krishna's service. They look at Ganga and they say, Ganga Mata, she has washed the lotus feet of Krishna and hence she is purified. She is pure. And not only is she pure, anything that comes in touch with Ganga, she can continue, she can further purify. Prithu Maharaj looks at his father and thinks, my God, he made huge blunders in his life because he couldn't get rid of his contamination of wanting to be the enjoyer. And he troubled the living entities so much, troubled mankind so much by demanding and extracting service from them, trying to imitate and compete with Krishna. So whatever they do, whatever they are, wherever they are, they see something that they can connect to Krishna and Krishna's service. And they're always eager and anxious to connect people to Krishna, engage them in Krishna's service, serve them. Serve all mankind in facilitating their service to Krishna. So this is the glory of a pure devotee's approach to life. Every opportunity, every situation, a pure devotee is always thinking, how can I connect this situation? How can I look at this situation as a mercy of Krishna, as a blessing of Krishna, as a reminder to me that I should become more determined and more, what shall we say, more pure in my bhakti. Every situation is a test by Krishna. Every situation is a call by Krishna to become more renounced, more dedicated, more enthusiastic, more selfless. Every situation is a call by Krishna to become more humble, more dependent. That is the way a pure devotee looks at anything that happens in his life. Anything that happens, the thought of wanting to exploit or control is not there. A pure devotee is always thinking, how can Krishna's enjoyment be increased? It is mentioned that this is the characteristic of the gopis of Vrindavan. Why are they worshipped? Why are they glorified so much by the greatest rishis, munis, renunciants of the world? It's because the gopis, even though they were in different family situations, they just didn't lose the focus that they are meant to serve Krishna. Their ultimate goal is to serve Krishna, is to give pleasure to Krishna, is to serve and give pleasure to Krishna. Krishna's senses, if you may say so. And they wouldn't allow anything to come in the way of their determination to serve Krishna. Not even family, not even husband, not even... Actually, they're all expansions of Radharani. They're all expansions of Radharani, and they're all expansions of Radharani have no other purpose of existence other than wanting to assist Radharani in the service to Krishna. They are expansions. So they may have been in different material situations as mother, as wife, as a daughter, as this. But that's completely immaterial because their main motto was how to serve and assist Radharani in her service to Krishna and serve Krishna. So that kind of a determination and they were blessed with that kind of a determination and clarity because they were all expansions of Radharani. But then of course Prabhupada also mentions that when Krishna did his famous Rasa Leela, not only were there expansions of Radharani who appeared as gopis, but Prabhupada mentions that there were also living entities who achieved that level of perfection. There were also living entities who achieved that level of perfection. And what is this perfection we are talking about? This perfection that my existence is for the pleasure of Krishna, is to increase the pleasure of Krishna. My existence is to serve and serve and serve and serve Krishna and give him pleasure. So there were some living entities who got promoted to becoming, it's like becoming promoted to become the eternal associates of Krishna. Because they had achieved that kind of, that level of intense purity of wanting to serve Krishna. So so by this process, even the goal of life is defined. The goal of life is to achieve that level of perfection, or shall we say determination and purity. Purity means not to have any other thought other than this thought that I am servant of Guru and Krishna. I am the servant of Guru. Prabhupada also mentions in the last paragraph of this purport that the representative of Krishna, the Guru, can also be considered as the mercy representation of Krishna. And is in one sense non-different. Surrender to Guru and surrender to Krishna is non-different. So purity means to understand I am supposed to be a servant and not a master. So, actually, sometimes there is today is Gita Jayanti, sometimes there is a discussion about what are those very important verses of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Because today is the day when Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Advent of Bhagavad Gita is celebrated, thankfully. By the efforts of Srila Prabhupada, this has now become a global event. There is no city in the world where this Gita Jayanti is not being observed today. Because there are the devotees of ISKCON practically in every major city of the world. Every major city of the world. I don't know so much about maybe some Muslim countries, but even there are many Indians or people of Indian origin who read the Gita, who worship the Gita. So, there's always this discussion about what is the main message of Bhagavad Gita, because today, being Gita Jayanti, we try to remember, a lot more than we do normally. A devotee's life, by the way, is always based on the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Not that On the Gita Jayanti day, he picks up the Gita and then starts studying or something. No, no. A devotee in life is always based on the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. A devotee is always carrying the Bhagavad Gita. A devotee is always carrying the message, the instruction, the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita in his heart. Always. Actually, a devotee is never separated from the instructions of Bhagavad Gita even for 1 second in his life. A devotee actively meditates on the instructions of Krishna. An enthusiastic devotee is always meditating on the instructions of, Krishna, Guru Parampara, like that. But we celebrate the advent of Bhagavad Gita also in a very grand, befitting manner, because today is the day when Krishna educated Arjuna. Today is the day when Krishna spoke to Arjuna on the battlefield. Today is the day when Krishna showed so much unconditional love for Arjuna. He stopped the battle. He interrupted the battle. He said, all right, Arjuna, go ahead. What's troubling you? Tell me. And he spent as much time as was required to pacify Arjuna, to clarify to Arjuna, to answer every one of his questions in a very detailed manner. 700 shlokas the Gita goes into. Very lovingly, very affectionately, with great concern. And you can see the, Sanjaya telling that this is a loving exchange between the Lord and his dearest disciple. So much so that Sanjaya declares towards the end of the Gita, wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, there will always be victory, morality. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Matirmama. So wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is devotee of Krishna, Arjuna, there will always be auspiciousness, victory, morality, strength, etc. So Sanjaya declares that wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is devotee of Krishna, there will always be auspiciousness. So there is some points in the Bhagavad Gita which are actually the turning points, as can be mentioned. And one of the most important turning point in the message that Krishna gives to Arjuna, you could say, there are many things. Krishna says, Yoga Kshemam Vaham Yaham. Very nice statement, very reassuring statement by the Lord. He says, why are you worried, Arjuna? Why are you worried about small things or big things or anything? You don't have to worry about small things, big things, anything. Leave it. Yoga Kshemam Vaham. I'm there behind you. I'm there behind you to take care of your welfare. I won't let anything pass by me so easily to disturb you. Because I'm there as your protector. Krishna also says, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami masuchaha. Krishna says, doesn't matter, maybe accidentally, intentionally, unintentionally, somehow or other, maybe someone has committed some sinful activities. No matter how ghastly or gory they are, I will protect you from the effects of such sinful activities. So Krishna makes that promise also. And Krishna also says in the 12th chapter that if you develop these qualities, you will actually become very dear to me. Krishna also says in the 9th chapter that, listen, I am giving you the most confidential knowledge. And in the 10th chapter he says, I am giving you knowledge more confidential than what I have given you before. Krishna shows the universal form, Vishwarupa, just to instill faith in Arjuna. Krishna does all of this to his dear friend and disciple Arjuna. But one of the verses that we have to meditate on this Gita Jayanti Day, of course, the great scholars and devotees have identified 108 shlokas out of the 700 to say that these are principal shlokas, if anything can be called important principle. Out of the 700, 108 shlokas are pulled out and said, these are important shlokas. But one of the shlokas that comes in the second chapter is quite really I would say one of the flashpoints or something like that in the Gita. Now, in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 7, Arjuna says, everybody knows? Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta yashreyasyan nishitam bruhitan me shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. So this verse, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam, is an amazing, a very, very incredibly wonderful verse spoken by Arjuna. Arjuna stands in front of Krishna and tells Krishna, my dear Lord, maybe you have spoken to me until now as a friend, as a well-wisher. Maybe you have spoken to me as a relative. You're my uncle, by the way. Maternal uncle. Maybe you have spoken to me. I'm a Kshatriya king and like you're my Sarathi, whatever. But now I want to look beyond all of that, because I have not forgotten even for a moment that though you may be my friend, my well-wisher, my dearest friend, I have not forgotten even for a moment that you are the Supreme Lord. You're actually the Supreme Lord. You are the Master. You are the Enjoyer. You are the Creator. You are the Maintainer. You are the Sustainer. You hold destiny of the whole world in your hand, whole universe in your hands. You hold the destiny of all the living entities also in your hands. If something is happening now, it cannot happen without your permission. It cannot happen. Obviously, it has your permission. It has your sanction. It has your sanction. So there must be some divine plan of yours that I'm not able to relate to or understand. But obviously, definitely there is some divine plan, intention of yours. I have never forgotten this. Right now I'm terribly confused. I don't know what is happening to me. I have a conflict of interest happening in my heart at the moment. Arjuna says conflict of interest because from one side he has a duty and responsibility as a king to uphold dharma, to vanquish adharma, protect the citizens from adharmic people. And from the other side, he has this confusion about to what extent he can go when the people representing adharma are his own relatives, his friends, his cousins, his uncles, and his guru. So Arjuna says, I have a dilemma. I have a conflict of interest. One side, dharma. Other side, my relatives and friends and my guru. What should I do? What should I do? And the two choices that I have, either to kill them or to renounce and go away, I don't know which to choose, which is better. Should I just leave and go away because they're my guru and my grandfather and my cousins and my friends? Or should I still fight and go to hell because I killed my relatives for what appears to be a very personal desire to reacquire a kingdom? Is it okay to kill my guru, my relatives, everybody just for the sake of a kingdom? So Arjuna says, I have this conflict of interest, very deep conflict going on. And then Krishna is waiting and waiting and waiting. It is said, Prabhupada also says, and many great acharyas have commented that the moment Arjuna speaks this verse, Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prachami tvam dharma samuda cheta yashreyasyan nishitam bruhitan me Shishyasteyam shadimam tvam prapannam. The moment Arjuna speaks this verse, Krishna changes his approach. Completely changes his approach, because it is here that Arjuna is accepting. Shishyasteyam shadimam tvam prapannam. Not only is Arjuna saying, my Lord, please treat me as your disciple, as your student, as your disciple. Not only that, please also treat me as a surrendered soul. Prapannam. As a completely surrendered soul. Not partially surrendered. Completely, unconditionally, fully surrendered soul. Servant. Whatever you take it as, servant, a servant, a surrendered, completely, unconditionally surrendered soul, who's come here standing in front of you, begging you, please accept me as your disciple, as your servant, as a soul surrendered onto you, as a soul who is exclusively, completely, fully dependent on you. Exclusively, fully, completely dependent on you. I am confused. I am perplexed. I am overwhelmed. I do not know how to choose. I'm not able to make out the right from the wrong. And hence I am standing in front of you, completely surrendered. Unconditionally, completely surrendered. And Krishna becomes very, very delighted to hear this statement and becomes obligated. When someone approaches Krishna in that mood, saying, I've come to you in full surrender, please guide me, please protect me, please do whatever you like with me. It is an expression of faith also that Arjuna had on Krishna. Complete faith, unconditional faith. Expression of faith, expression of confidence, expression of devotion. Expression of dependence on Krishna. Displaying his dependence, total dependence on Krishna's instructions in an unconditional manner. And also acknowledging that Krishna is the master. And Krishna knows the past, controls the present, has the future in his hand. Arjuna is so confident. Arjuna is so hopeful. Arjuna is looking up to Krishna. And this is what Prabhupada mentions, that so far the two of them seem to be having a friendly banter. Banter means some friendly talk. But the moment Arjuna speaks this, Krishna takes charge. Krishna takes charge. So Bhagavad Gita is all about allowing Krishna to take charge of our life. Our lives. Krishna wants to take charge, and we are letting Krishna take charge. So the day we take the Bhagavad Gita into our hands and read, Prabhupada always says, we should approach the Gita in the same manner in which Arjuna approached Krishna. Same manner. So if we allow Krishna to take charge of our lives, Krishna's instructions, Krishna is happy to do that. Krishna has all the time in the world for every one of us when we surrender to him in that mood. It's not that only Arjuna. No, Krishna is infinite. He can expand into infinite forms. And he can reciprocate with each one of us in a unique manner. Very special, loving, unique way. So, Krishna is just waiting for us. So, Bhagavad Gita, it's not that, see, the Bhagavad Gita can advent in our life. The advent of Bhagavad Gita in our life may not happen on December 3rd. It can happen the moment we genuinely understand and speak this verse to Krishna. Shishyasteyam shadimam tvam prapannam. The day we speak this verse to Krishna, that is the day Bhagavad Gita advent happens for us personally. It happens to us personally. So the advent of Bhagavad Gita is in that sense very personal, very intimate, very dynamic. The day we speak. Otherwise, we are missing out the whole message. Even on December 3rd, if we don't understand that it is this message, that it is this mood that Krishna is waiting for. Shishasteyam Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. I am unconditionally surrendered to you. I will. And that surrender has to be ongoing. That is where the challenge is. It's not that we say that for a certain time. No, ongoing. That is the meaning of losing, of contamination in our heart. It's not that, okay, the problem is solved, so now I become the problem Krishna solved for me, now I'm friends with Krishna. No, not like that. If the problem is solved, a devotee becomes even more determined to become even more humbler and dependent on Krishna. Not that, okay, now the problem is solved, so now I can switch my mode of relationship with Krishna. No, because the problem is solved, devotee becomes ever more grateful and dependent on Krishna. Ever more grateful, ever more dependent on Krishna. Actually, devotee has to be cautious, has to be careful, has to ask himself this question: is this pleasing to Krishna? Or is there a strong angle of personal wish and welfare that has crept into my decision? Whatever, thinking, something like that. So, two things. One is to speak this verse. That is the day Bhagavad Gita makes an advent into our lives, whenever we speak. And Bhagavad Gita will continue to stay, Krishna's message, Krishna's will continue to stay in our heart as long as we have this mood. As long as we have this mood, then I am servant of Krishna, and so I shall remain in that way, as the servant of Krishna, dependent on Krishna. And with every unique blessing or reciprocation we get from Krishna, we should be careful to see that it actually increases our faith, increases our determination to be more dependent, more humble in front of Krishna and Guru. More dependent, more humble in front of Guru and Krishna. And the deeper we go in a relationship of dependence, gratitude, thankfulness to Krishna, the more Krishna takes charge of our life. The more directly Krishna takes charge of our life. Just as he took direct charge of Arjuna's life. Not because Arjuna was Kunti's son, because Arjuna came to him and spoke these words. Please make me your disciple. I'm a surrendered soul. I'm yours. Do whatever you please with me. Tell me whatever you like. Do whatever you please with me. So the more we see that depending on Krishna is pleasing to Krishna, actually very satisfying to the Atma also. When a devotee lives in a mood of dependence on Krishna, the more Krishna takes charge of his life. That's when Krishna actually becomes Hrishikesha, takes charge of the devotee's life. So devotee's life is a journey of dependence. Increasing dependence, journey of increasing dependence. An evolution of, dependence on Krishna, surrender to Krishna, and making it very deep and unconditional. Not that sometimes it appears that something went wrong because you depended on Krishna, so now I'll ask a big question, is it worth depending on Krishna? No. Krishna has his plan, whatever they may be. One time Prabhupada said, oh Krishna, see how you have taken care of Pandavas, huh? They were so dependent on you, and slowly, one by one, you took everything out of them. But the beauty of this relationship, Prabhupada says, is they became even more dependent on you. They became even more lovingly dependent on you. Beauty of a relationship. See, actually a devotee thinks only of one dimension, in the sense, is this pleasing to Krishna? Is this correct from Krishna's perspective? He is completely independent of material happenings in his life. Plus, minus, loss, gain, nothing. This is pleasing to Krishna. That's all. So, but devotee's life, if you want the Bhagavad Gita, see, actually Bhagavad Gita means learning the art of depending on Krishna, learning the art of allowing Krishna to take charge of your life. Take charge of your life. Learning that, practicing that, learning and practicing that. That is when we become a truly become a student of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Thank you very much. Today we have many programs also to happen now. Any questions? Comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. In the purport, Prabhupada explains in the last that... in last line, a spiritual master should not accept many disciples. What is the mean? Can you explain? If your spiritual master will not accept the disciples, then what is the hope of a conditioned souls? Please explain that.
See, this statement Prabhupada makes once or twice, a few more times also he makes. And Prabhupada clarifies, Prabhupada explains. Prabhupada explains here also, that there is a chance that because one takes more disciples, one becomes, sometimes it appears that one becomes burdened. Or let me see what is the exact word Prabhupada uses. A sort of tribulation. That means, Prabhupada explains that if one takes more disciples, because there's a transfer of karma of the disciple to the guru, that may trouble the guru in many ways. Maybe physical ailment, maybe some anxiety, some physical difficulty or burden of karma that the guru may experience. So it is with that in mind, Prabhupada explains that one should be careful when one accepts many disciples. Because there is a transfer of karma, and that karma can cause tribulations, which means some troubles for the guru. Hence, especially in Kali Yuga. Hence, Prabhupada warns and says, be careful, don't accept too many disciples. But Prabhupada also says that there should be millions of gurus and billions of disciples. And there are times when he has specifically instructed some of his disciples to make 50,000 disciples. When you become a guru, you should have 50,000 disciples, at least 50,000. So there are times when he has passed that instruction also. But the principle behind is that when a person accepts disciples, Prabhupada explains at the time of initiation, the karma changes from the disciple to the guru. So it should not overwhelm the guru. It should not cause tribulations to the guru. So there is a general word of caution not to accept too many disciples. But, this word too many is kind of relative. We don't know. Prabhupada didn't put a number and say, each one should take only 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. He said too many, shouldn't take. But Prabhupada also, in the early stages, said that I'm taking a lot of risk because I want this movement to become stabilized and grow. So ISKCON is just 50 years old. So it's still, for a spiritual organization, 50 years is nothing. It's just the beginning of birth, or shall we say something like that. So we have to understand that in the early days, there will be some disciples, out of love for their guru, who will take some risks in preaching, in expanding the movement, etc. What I mean by saying risk is they will take more anxiety, trouble for themselves in order to benefit mankind. But in general, Prabhupada wanted the number of gurus to increase. His Holiness Japataka Maharaj repeatedly mentions nowadays that Prabhupada wanted millions of gurus and millions of disciples also. Because he wanted this to become a worldwide movement, which is present in every town and village. It's not that we have to wait for a long time for the guru to come from some other country, some other continent. No, there should be gurus in every town, every village, who can connect you to Krishna, connect you to Lord Chaitanya's parampara. So there is that instruction also. There are sometimes personal instruction given by Prabhupada to specific disciples saying, when you become a guru, you make 50,000 disciples. That instruction was given not only to Jayapataka Maharaj, but it was given to a few others. That you make 50,000 disciples. But that's a risk. There is no doubt that it's a huge risk. Very big risk in Kali Yuga. Because there is a karma transfer. So, in general, we go by this guideline that we should not make too many disciples. But we also have to understand that too many Prabhupada didn't define so carefully. And there is also this exceptional instruction where he says, you make this many number, you make like that, etc. Okay? But yes, because of the transfer of karma, Prabhupada himself says, tribulations, troubles will be there for the Guru. So Guru has to be cautious based on his capacity to handle, based on his personal capacity to handle. Okay? Good question. Thank you. Any other question? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Shri Gita Jayanti Mahotsav ki, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jagat Guru Patit Pavan Srila Prabhupada ki.